Yeah. And I see them.
Alright, everyone come up a little bit closer. Not you. That's how good of a trainer I am. Good, 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 and bad. Welcome to our carnivore house. Take pictures, ask questions. It's just that simple. I always say my number one rule is if your brain says maybe I shouldn't do that. Sound good? Right. So a little history on this house. Finished in 1998. State-of-the-art facility. Here we are at almost 2020. Not so much state-of-the-art. Right. The animals don't care. It's perfectly suitable for them. They enjoy it. They just didn't think about things back then, such as the internet, wireless access to anything that's solid concrete. And my favorite is that they put it 35 feet below sea level and made it hurricane-proof, but they didn't think about flooding. So that is something that we were always thinking about in the summertime. And then my second favorite is they forgot to put in a human bathroom. So we have to walk a little bit over a quarter of a mile to use any facilities.
Oh my gosh.
So you plan accordingly. So it is a great carnivore house as far as for training and for the animals, but for the humans. When the air conditioning works, that's about the only good thing we got going for it. So, we're going to see some lions, so let's go.
I wonder how our zoo is because it's so old. Oh, there's the hyenas. See them? That's cool.
Alright, so folks, if you wouldn't mind just kind of leaving Sheila her own little personal bubble while she does a session here with this first line. First line's going to be a little bit obstructed view. That's just because they put an extra barrier out here for super safe records and well-being. Then we'll get a little bit better look at the girls in just a moment. So this is Kembe. He is 6 years old, Sheila. Yeah. Thank you. I get all my ages mixed up. Just short of 400 pounds. And it doesn't feel like 400 pounds. I know sometimes you can like deadlift. I can't even pick up the head. And I'm not the strongest person in the world, but they are extremely heavy-bodied animal. And he'll probably get a little bit bigger, not much. We actually thought he would get closer to about 450 pounds based on his dad, but where he's at is just right about average for a male lion, particularly in a zoo situation. You're going to hear a little grumbling from Kembe. That's because Kembe has a little bit of an attitude, which is the same attitude about 95% of male lions have. Male lions, their brain says, I don't work for food. The ladies bring me food, and now you're asking me to work for food. So I'm going to let you know I'm not pleased about it. So we keep our training session short with our male lions, leave it only to a couple minutes, because we don't want them to get frustrated. And we don't ask them to do too much in the training sessions, because it's just not necessarily in their nature. So some of the things we do, the stand up, that one to me is just plain impressive, but it also serves a very important purpose that we can see their underbelly. If they're going to get any kind of scratch or wound, that's a place we're not going to see it, so that's of course that's where it's going to be. So we do have them do the stand-ups quite a bit, so we can see that, and also you can see how tall he could actually get. If he were to really stretch out, he could probably hang a nail on a basketball rim and still have his back feet on his tippy toes. So that's about 10 feet, which is absolutely impressive. He's going to be chewing on a rib right now. Keep him occupied. You'll notice when we do these training sessions with the lions too, it's pretty much one trainer to one animal, just so they don't get confused or even squabble over food. This pride grew up together. They're a very close-knit group, but I always imagine Thanksgiving lasting for 6-7 years. You're going to get a little over your family every now and then, and they do that. They're just like anybody else. All right, let's go.
I'm looking. He's pretty.
All right, feel free to step on up anywhere. We're going to be working both these cats and then be moving back and forth. If you have any questions, just shout them out. Don't feel like you're being rude. That's what I expect. So, first up is Shituko. She is the sister of Shala over here. Born in the same litter, but if you kind of get right in between them and look back and forth, you're going to see a size difference. Typically, Females born in the same litter and raised together look almost like twins, so they're very hard to tell apart. But for these cats, if anybody's ever seen twins before, Sheila can maybe attest to that. She has twins. Their personalities are night and day. So Shituko here is the bottomless pit, loves to work for food. My running gag is if you give her 10 zebras, she'll say, thank you, can I have 5 more? So she's about 30 pounds bigger than her sister. Shaba, as you can see, there's food available and she would just rather headbutt the chain link. I've also seen her leave training sessions or ignore us to go chase after butterflies. So she's very playful. For a cat that's 6 years old, and sometimes to get her from point A to point B, even though food would be at point B, we have to run with her so she can chase somebody. This happens almost on a daily basis. She acts like a 6-month-old cub. It is very abnormal. Usually about 4 years of age, her body says, all right, chill out. It's not time to play, it's time to conserve energy. She's an exception to a very broad rule. Any questions at all? Yes, sir.
They're not related to...
They are not related to the male. He was born about a month ahead, and they all 3 came to us from a zoological facility in South Africa, which is actually kind of cool, because believe it or not, most of the lions that are in North America are related. So you need to have a diversification of genetics, so to speak. You don't want this to be like a Game of Thrones episode. So we're bringing fresh blood, and eventually these females will probably become pregnant, have cubs, and when they're ready, we'll go shed that gene. Right now, what do you want me to do?
Close green and blue.
Close green and blue. Pardon me for a second. Right now, there's really not that much need for cubs across the United States. Sure, it would be cool to have them. Everyone wants to see cubs, but they got to go somewhere and they got to go someplace reputable eventually. You got to have a root for them. So these 2 females actually have an implant the size of a grain of rice in their leg that will inhibit the heat for about 2 years. And if we wanted to breed them, we would take that implant out within 6 months. We could have heat, and then probably 3 to 4 months after that. So this is Shaba. We don't have favorites. Why? Because she's just a big goofball. We have, you hear the names that we call them, and we expect you to know. We have nicknames for all of them. So she is Blobby, Shaba Ding Dog, Goofball, Nut Job, you name it. So she is quite the interesting cat. And what's also interesting too is Kembe, the male, has preferences as well, and he prefers Shituko over Shaba. He doesn't seem to care about Shaba at all, but he is in love with Shituko. Questions? Keep rambling on? Got it. So the meatballs that Sheila is giving them, that is made specifically for lions. So everything they would need, calorie-wise, vitamin-wise, could be found in that meatball. The girls get about 5 pounds a day. Kembe gets about 7.5. But we don't just give them the meatball. At the end of that session out there, you may have saw him chewing on something that was a rib with meat on it. We give them something with a bone in it 3 to 4 times a week that works as dental floss and teeth brushes. We do like to chew on bones quite a bit. So usually about 3/4 of the food intake is the meatball. The other quarter is something different every day. Yesterday it was chicken quarters. Tomorrow might be oxtail. You name it, if it ever had a backbone, they would probably eat it. There are some exceptions. It seems like our Florida native birds, the majority of them must taste really bad because they never go after them. Includes the seagulls, the egrets, the ibises that will come in and get the scraps off the habitat.
Is the meat that you feed these guys basically the same when you feed the tigers?
Yes.
And the horse?
Yep. Yeah, it's exactly the same thing. Tigers and lions aren't that much different, other than the look of them. And really, the meat that we give, the horse meat, is the best thing that we can get for them. The beef, pork, chicken, stuff that we eat is made for us. It is not made, and domesticated animals to a certain extent. It's not made for a wild animal by any means. There's the rib right there. You'll hear her chew on that quite extensively too. It's kind of cool because those ribs are about the same size as a rib that you would eat, but they will not typically chew through or bite through that rib bone. So it makes great enrichment for our hyenas. So any bones that they leave over, we just toss at the hyenas. It's less space in our garbage because they'll just eat it all. We do have another group of lions. If you walk through the edge of Africa, you'll see them today. They are our older group. They're 13 years old. That is not young. That's not necessarily senior living quite yet either, as a typical lifespan in the zoo. 15 to 18, I've seen as old as 20 and healthy as well.
Oh,
We are seeing some signs of them showing a little bit of age, but so am I. And I think I got a little ways.
At least one was nice.
Yeah, I know, right? Another really cool fact. This is my favorite fact, and this is a very weird fact. So, if you look real hard, if you look at the thighs of Shituka over here, and maybe the back legs of Shaba, you'll see something that a 6-year-old lion shouldn't have. Anyone see it?
Spots.
Spots. Why do our lions have spots? Typically, lions lose their spots around the first or second year of birth, or after birth. Our 13-year-old female lions have spots. But wow, that's the fun part, we don't know. And this is an animal that has been, so researched. Everyone knows what it is. We see field studies on a monthly basis, and we still don't know why. The two theories are fantastic theories, and I kind of lean towards the second one. The first theory has been, for the past 20 to 30 years, when they started showing up like this, all these North American lions are related to each other, so there must be some kind of gene anomaly. Makes perfect sense. These guys aren't North American lions, they're South African lions. Now we're here at 6 years old, they still have spots. This brings into the second theory that I buy into. They live in such a different livelihood in a zoological facility than they would in the wild, that the common stressors of life doesn't change them physically. They do think maybe the cortisol levels in wild lions physically change them to leave those spots, which makes perfect sense. When you're a year-old lion, you gotta learn how to fend for yourself. You need to be a little bit more camouflaged for being a predator as opposed to a prey. So that's kind of the way I lean towards, which is amazing. And the detractors to that is, 30 years ago, lions in zoos didn't have those spots. We didn't treat them like we treat them now. The animal training involved, the space that they get. Our animals get to look at the Food Network every day out on the Serengeti Plain. So all these factors come and play in, and it's amazing. If you take this tour, next year, a year later, I might have another thing I don't know about them, or have something hypothetically solved, or I told you something wrong at the store that has been changed, which is always fun.
Any questions, guys?
So how long are they pregnant for if they would be
90 to 110 days.
Wow.
Give or take. Average litter size is probably 3, but they could have anywhere between 1 to 6. 6 is stretching it, but I would say 3 to 4 is typically average. So this is how we make them smell good. Just kidding. We like to put different spices. You see our spice rack over here. Our males tend to enjoy the spices more than the females, and they don't ingest them. He might, as soon as he's done yelling at the hyenas. They just like to smell it. And why do they want to smell like Italian spice? I don't know. I don't mind smelling like Italian spice at the end of the night, but the Italian spice, taco seasoning are our top 2 favorites for our lions.
What is that?
No? Do you want your brush?
Between the outside areas.
Oh.
Sometimes one knocks and the other one beats on.
Oh, wow. That's funny.
So he's just scratching
It's
the
like,
door.
hey, anyone there?
So we literally spend hundreds to thousands of dollars every year coming up with the best toys and enrichment items for our large carnivores. Turns out, 9 times out of 10, that's a 75-cent broom. You want this? There we go.
Green the jungle.
Yeah.
Take a shot by a broom.
Look at those claws.
Yeah, you can see it as those nails come out too, how little sharp they are too. Sheila and I were just discussing when these guys were cubs, and I've raised cheetahs before then and hyenas since. And you would think that's the funnest thing ever. Do it once. These guys, when they weren't lethal at 50 or 60 pounds, but they were a handful. And the first time I did it, I'm like, I'm good. I don't need to do that again. Cheetahs were so much easier. Hyenas, believe it or not, you know, teeny tiny hyenas that are a third these size, we stopped going in with them when they're about the size of a pug. 20 to 25 pounds.
Wow.
And that is just because their bite pressure is so strong at such a young age.
Wow.
You are really working hard for this. You are.
It's like I'm just being adorable.
I know.
Being a cat. Here comes Kimbe. So were they born here? Or? Oh no, you said they're from Africa. That's right.
The 13-year-old ones we have. Mike right in that same bucket over the way. The other pride we have. The 13-year-olds came from a zoo in Wisconsin, and we have not had cubs here. Well, I can say at least almost 22 years, because that's how long I've been here, but probably longer than that, because the last pride we had is here. So we
Alright, folks, let's check out what Kimbe's going to do. Check out what with these spices. After that, we're going to get going. So if anybody has a question before that, feel free to ask now.
Shake it off, buddy. Shake it off.
Oh, there she is. She's like,
I'll
give
be
it
here
to
for the next half hour if anyone was wondering if I'm going to get this back.
Use all your muscles, Mike.
But you like it. Once you put it down.
That's how you're going to go.
She goes on
Here, Jamie, get in there.
Here, let's do
Oh, you got it.
Oh, I looked again.
Alright, folks, get those last photos.
Thank you guys for coming. We appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Mike. Thanks, Sheila. If you guys like to follow me out, feel free to get those last photos of meet me outside.
Yeah, I love how she's just like laying there still. Cool. He is pretty. Look at those eyes. Yeah.